Adventure and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest who has some killer music and a killer band name that I was like, at first, I'm like, oh, I'm really going to butcher this. So we'll see. So let's welcome to the show, Mitchell from Heinous Exsanguination. See, I did it. Exsanguination.
Perfect. Hey, how's it going, everybody? And thanks, Dean, for having me. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. And yeah, we were just talking about that before the interview. I was like, let me tell you how I think it is, and you tell me if I'm butchering it. And I did it perfect the first time. And that's the problem. Even when I do voiceovers, commercials, stuff like that, it's always the first take that if I get it right, I get it right and it's done. If I have to go to a second take, then sometimes it takes like 15 takes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep. When you have to perform and actually, like you did it right before perfectly. And I was like, yep, you got it. And then when you actually perform, then something in your mind gets dripped up and you're like, ugh, have a little brain fart.
And it reminds me, okay, so you'll be able to relate to this. I was just watching, I think it was yesterday or the day before, a video about Tom Araya from Slayer. And they're talking about Angel of Death and the scream that he does.
Oh,
and
right.
And basically, the first time he did it, when they weren't recording the song, they were just looking for a scream that would work. And the first scream was perfect. And he never was able to repeat it ever again.
Wow. Yeah. I know exactly. I love Slayer. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's crazy because I've seen them live a few times. And I think the last time I saw them, I think he wasn't even doing anything at the time for that song, because this was probably 2015 or something. So they were starting to, get up there. But the few times I did see him before that, when he did do the scream, it did not sound like the record.
I know, right? And they did, luckily, the producer luckily recorded it when it was just like a practice scream, because that's the one they used.
Right.
And I went to, you're going to love this, I went to their first show ever.
Oh, wow. Where was that at?
I can't even remember. It was either the Woodstock or the Troubadour or one of those places.
Yeah.
It's like such, listen, if you remember the 80s, in the early 80s Sunset Strip, LA days, you weren't really there.
Yeah.
But he used to scream a lot in the beginning live, and that's what I noticed at the end is he wasn't screaming anymore. It was just the growl. Yeah.
And it was kind of, and even the other songs that they do, it's kind of, the energy wasn't quite as there as like, cause I've watched all those early Slayer live videos, and yeah, it's a lot of energy. And it's like, some of it's like kind of, similar to like modern screaming today, Right.
And me personally, he's my friend too, but Dave Lombardo, that to me, that defines Slayer.
100%. Yep. I agree. Yep. One of my best friends is a huge Slayer fan, and he's the same way. So that makes Dave made the like connected it all together.
Well, it was that double bass, okay? Because there was no double bass at the time.
Right.
And Dave brought the punk into it. So did Jeff. Like Dave and Jeff were punks, and Tom wasn't even really a metalhead before being in Slayer. And then Kerry was the true metalhead.
Right. Yep. That makes sense.
So yeah. So now what I want to say is about your band. Okay. How do you have, I'm always amazed by this, two people making such a full sound?
Man, it's really just the technology that we have today. And I talk about this all the time, like to people that ask me, or, you know, just different conversations with producers, musicians. Even like now in 2024, I started doing audio stuff in 2011, 12, somewhere around there. Even around then, and then even in like, you know, 2015 to 2018, the stuff you could do like 2-man projects like this, but it was a lot harder. Days there's just so many different tools that you can use to, like, you can make a full production off your laptop with a microphone. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And a lot of people, and it takes some skill though. Like, I mean, a lot of people are, you know, they're like, oh, it's so easy to do that. Like, it's to actually do it right. It's you still got to know, you know, what you're doing.
I love that you just said that, because I want to expand on that, especially for all the gatekeepers out there that are like, well, if you're not actually playing the instrument, then you're not really a musician. And it does. Listen, I learned my lesson once when I went to a festival to cover it, and they had a DJ there. I'm like, I don't get why people, I was one of those gatekeepers. I don't get why people go to a live DJ show. Just go to the nightclub, okay? Like, that's not a concert. But then I got it when I was there, and I got the idea of it. And if you did try to do these things yourself, just like people with podcasting, like I run a whole network here, and I laugh at the DIY people that watch a video and think they know how to do it and think that's all there is to it. And that's the point I want you to expand on, is how you really do have to know what you're doing.
Totally. Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking, so what we do, the live parts of the Heinous Exsanguination recordings is all the guitar. I record and write all of the guitar. And then the vocals are also obviously, you know, done in real time as well. The drums and the bass are all programmed though. But then my next point on that is, so the drums, I mean, you have to, I don't call myself a drummer, but I can play drums. You know, I call myself a guitarist and a producer. Drums is kind of like my secondary thing. But, you know, if I didn't know how to play drums or just know like what that rhythm feels like, it's very easy to program drums to a song, and then it just sounds like a straight up computer. Because, you know, if you have a little bit of background in the actual thing, then you know how it's supposed to sound. You know, you can get it to where it's programmed, and you can make it do crazy double bass that is probably not possible in real life, but you can still make it like pretty, you know, to where it doesn't feel like a straight up drum machine. Right. And same too, like when you program the bass, you know, I have a little bit of background in like music theory and stuff. So, I mean, you have to know like what notes to punch in on the program, the different velocities, the length of each note. Like, you know, you don't just go in and, you know, type stuff in and, oh, there it is. That's like the longest part to me of making these songs too, is programming the bass and drums. That's like the part that takes the most time, for sure. Cause I can sit there and record slam riffs for forever, you know, but, yeah, programming the stuff is the hardest part, I would say.
Yeah. And you definitely have to know the music itself. You also have to know how to program. You also have to know the sound engineering part of it, because, you know, if you make it even as simple as the wrong volume, it's not going to sound right. And you struck a point with that I relate to when you're talking about sounding like a computer with AI going on right now. Okay, and it's pretty heavy in my industry too. And I've checked out certain AI like solutions for doing voiceovers for a commercial.
Right.
And I don't like any of them because they don't sound like a human being. However, that's just the stock stuff for the average person that goes and picks that. But for a professional like me, I am able to take that AI and manipulate it and customize it to where it does sound human and not a computer. And I think